Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're grabbing a foundational source, a scientific document written under, well, some of the most extreme pressure imaginable.
And we're using it to explore the exact moment the world's most consequential pandemic threat was first identified.
Yeah, we're basically time travelers. We're putting ourselves right in Wuhan, China in late 2019, early 2020.
This deep dive is built around a scientific paper from researchers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, or WIV. And this is the paper that first characterized the novel pathogen, which they tentatively named 2019 nCoV.
And it wasn't just a research report, was it? It was essentially the molecular warning siren for the entire globe.
It really was.
You just have to think about the speed of this work. The outbreak really starts to pick up steam around, what, December 12th, 2019?
Right. And by January 26, 2020, so just over a month later, the WIV team had already compiled and published this definitive genetic roadmap of the virus.
And that context, January 26th, that's so crucial because the numbers, even then, told a pretty terrifying story.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at that point, China had already reported almost 2,800 lab-confirmed infections and 80 deaths.
And the scary part, it had already jumped borders.
Yeah, that's maybe the most worrying thing. It had already popped up in 10 other countries. It wasn't a local problem anymore. It was already spreading, and nobody really knew what it was.
So before we dive into the molecular detective work, let's just set the scene on the ground. What were doctors seeing that made them think this is something totally new?
Well, the clinical presentation was just severe. It was an acute respiratory syndrome. Patients were coming in with a high fever, a really intense dry cough, and then it would rapidly progress to breathing difficulties, dyspnea, which then just turned into severe viral pneumonia.
And what made this different from, say, a really bad flu season or just typical winter pneumonia?
Because the speed. Speed and the uniformity of how it progressed towards respiratory failure.
So everyone was following the same dangerous path.
Exactly. Chest scans showed this severe pneumonia, and crucially, antibiotics weren't doing anything.
Right, so that immediately rules out a bacterial infection.
It points directly toward a novel virus. The clinicians knew right then they were fighting something they had never, ever seen before.
Okay, so the doctors know they have a highly infectious virus on their hands. Where does the WIV lab even begin their hunt once they get those first patient samples?
They started where history told them to look. They got samples, things like lung fluid, blood, from 7 patients with this severe pneumonia.
And 6 of them had a connection to the Wuhan seafood market. What?
6 of the initial severe cases, yeah. And that connection was strong for the start of the cluster. But, by the time the scientists were analyzing this data, it was already clear.
It was spreading human to human.
Rapidly.
So the mission is to find the culprit.